Welcome to Money Convos, where we discuss personal finance and investment tips. We're committed to helping people create wealth and achieve financial freedom. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. All right then, let's head into today's conversation.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's conversation. Happy Val's Day to everyone. If you have a Valentine, I hope you are going to do something nice. But after we are done talking, or you're on your way, and there's just going to be a nice drive time radio for you on your way. Bishop Bedem, how been?
Elikem, Adeo, yourself.
Are they okay? Are they all right? Are they, the way I dey hear your background, be like you day on road.
No, Charlie, I beg, I just the house quiet.
You sure? You day house all alone?
All alone, it's lonely at the top.
That's a good one. That's a good one. At least you did a talk. I just when I was about to start this space, I saw something a post by Desmond, and he said he just got a call from a dispatch rider. Yeah,
Kai.
the dispatch rider wanted investment advice.
At this time.
Charlie, at this time, you know your work. I say today I'm not even messaging people by heart. I'm not messaging anybody by heart. Today, dear, for the alert.
Well, tell me.
Anyway, Charlie. Last to anyone who is wondering, okay, today is Val's Day. Once we having a conversation about Val's Day. Last week we had a conversation last week about Val's Day. And it was about pledging. It was given. It's pledging on Val's Day and other days, making sure that, of course, you've planned, you can afford it. But we talked about the benefits of giving, being generous. And so if you didn't listen to that conversation, I strongly encourage you, go back and play back that conversation. You can hear it on YouTube. It's up on YouTube. Just search for Money Convos, or wherever you listen to podcasts, just search for Money Convos and you will find most recent conversation uploaded. All right, great. So today we are going to be talking about something else. Is renting good or bad? And in fact, at this particular point, as I'm thinking about it, today Val's Day like this, Charlie, if somebody went to blow money on Val's Day and then they don't have money for rent, it go hard. It go hard. So boys and girls out there, just beware. Don't go and waste money that you can't afford to waste. But today we'll be talking about rent. Is renting good or bad? I see Papa Sam. I'm just gonna invite you up if you can. And then let's see. So we did a survey ahead of this, just a mini survey, asked a few people a few questions. And the question was, is renting good or bad? And we got some responses. So I'll just go through the results of that quick survey before we get into our discussion. I'm sure some of those points will come up in our discussion. But just to do a quick check with Edem. Edem, are you there?
Yeah, Elikem, I'm here.
Energy. So, Edem, quick, just your quick thoughts. When you heard this topic, is renting good or bad? What was your answer?
Elikem, I think I've given this answer before on some show.
Mm-hmm.
And I from where I sit, there's no clear-cut yes or no answer because individual circumstances vary.
Mm-hmm.
And I know as we go into the matter later deeper, we will get to see that the decision as to whether to rent or whether it's buying or building a house is all dependent on your financial situation at the point in time. So things situations are not static. At a point in time, it might be good. At a point in time, it might be bad. And so I don't think it's a straightforward yes, and then that's the answer you hold on until maybe
Mm-hmm.
until the grave. Okay, but it might change as the answer to that question might change as you go on in life and your circumstances change. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. As with all decisions in life or most questions in life, the answer is it depends. It depends. So yeah, it reminds me of something that comes up on the Dave Ramsey show. It's when people ask, "Is this a good time to buy a house?" Well, where buying means either buy or build. All right, use them interchangeably. So, is it time for me to get a house? And then the answer is, it depends. The best time for you to buy a house is when it makes financial sense for you to do so, right? And so, best time for you to rent, or whether it's good or bad to rent, is when it makes financial sense for you to do so. And usually the choices are between if you are not going to rent, then you are going to own your own home, or there's even the third option of you stay with family. Or some people are not so good option maybe stay in live in your car. Not too many people have RVs or those kind of things, so that's not even a realistic option for most people. So no, yeah. So yeah, we're gonna get into this conversation, and we can preempt that the answer is going to be it depends. So if it depends, the question is, under what circumstances does it depend? Personally, it's very frustrating when I ask somebody a question and they say it depends, and they just leave it like that. Okay, okay, right, all right. It's like you told me nothing, right? Why don't you tell me? Okay, it depends. All right. So if this, then that's what it depends on. If it's this, then to depend on doing this happening. So what are the conditions under which one is good and or the other is bad? So we're going to get into that in a quick moment. So looking at a very short survey, which is not very scientific. It was just very tiny sample size. It's a sample of a sample. You understand? So it should not be used in any way, shape, or form as a barometer of people's opinions, but just interesting how it shaped up right down the middle. We had 42, well, we had 14.3% of people saying it's bad. And then we had 42.9% of people saying it's good, and another 42.9% saying it depends. So you can see that it depends and it's good split halfway, are split into two, and a small portion says it's bad. So we'll get into that, and we'll talk about some of the reasons why people gave the answers that they gave. But I guess we could just get this out of the way and just start with a reason. The person who said or the people who said it's bad, and the main reason why it's bad is you don't build an investment. There's no equity. It's like the money is just going to waste. You're just giving the money to somebody else, and you're not building anything for yourself. We'll get into more details about that. But for now, we can focus more on the it depends. Dennis and Papa Sam, feel free to come up to join us in the conversation. You can just request the mic and I'll bring you up. Okay, so Eden, let's go with some. Let's take a few points about under what circumstances is it good. Then we'll go back and forth with the circumstances for bad. Any first thoughts?
Oh, yeah. I think for the first thing that comes to my mind for renting is the fact that if you like, okay, let's look at our context here in Ghana. Home ownership, it's beginning. I mean, it has always been the preserve of people who have the wherewithal. I mean, it is not easy to cough up money to buy land first and then to put up a house. So obviously, if you're a young person who has just come out of school, okay, and maybe your parents, maybe let's say you are from the north, maybe in Tamale, and you've gotten a job in Accra, and you have come to Accra. Obviously, your first financial decision in terms of where to stay will not be that you're coming to buy a house in Accra, because obviously, as a how do you call entry level worker, it's going to be a stretch to acquire a house here in Accra. Okay, so straightforward, the option of buying your own house or building your own house looks like it's out of the question. So what will make sense will be to rent, unless of course you get the other option which we're talking about, maybe some family here in Accra who maybe there's an extra room and then they say, oh, okay, you can come and stay here or something like that. Then maybe that case, that is the one that will make sense to you. But else, that is the best situation I can see, that you would have to rent a place for yourself so that you can stay and work. And then probably as you go along, you can then start to think about whether you want to join the ownership ladder and all that. So that is a classic example that I see for the justification for renting. A young person who is now starting out in life, unless your parents have set you up with their own properties or something, you would most likely have to rent a place of your own and then start off life from there. Yeah.
That's a very good point. As a starting option, renting would definitely be a better option than straight away going to buy or own a home, unless you have a silver spoon in your mouth already, as they say. Okay, that's good. That's good. Good points. Papa Sam, welcome. It's been a few weeks since we had you on here. How you doing? Papa Sam, if you are speaking, you are muted, so you can unmute.
I'm doing well. Fantastic.
Wonderful. That's good. I like your energy on this Val's Day. That means say wifey is going to be in a good mood as well. Okay, great. Anyway, so we'll continue on. I'll just give a point around why rent is good, and then we can hear Papa Sam conditions where it would be good. So I'm looking at it from a monthly budget point of view, or not even just a monthly budget, from an expense point of view. Renting can actually be less expensive than owning a home because you have a lower upfront cost. If you have to go and pay rent in Ghana, people would take a 2-year advance or a 1-year advance. That's smaller than how much it will cost for you to buy some blocks or make a down payment towards purchasing a house. So and with that amount, you can move in compared to, yes, I know buying a few blocks may not cost so much, but if you are comparing it to actually building the house to a point where you can move in, a few blocks won't get you there. The kind of money that you pay to move into a rented place won't get you anywhere near a house that you would own yourself. So it's a lower upfront cost. Usually the monthly rent would cost way less. And when I'm thinking about monthly expenses, trying to compare owning versus renting, I'll be thinking about something like a mortgage rate or your mortgage payments, because that's a simpler way. If you borrow the money from the bank, they've given you a house, you are staying in there, that's a payment you'll be making to the bank. Alternatively, if you want to fund it, just take the cost of the house that you want to live in, and you look at how long it will take you to build it, how much money you need, how much money you can save every month. Chances are, for you to build a house to that level, you may need way more money than, let's say, 1,000 cedis for the same level of house. So low upfront cost is why I would say it's a good option for you if you can't afford to start making monthly payments towards your home. And also related to these expenses is there's some predictability in the expenses. And I'm sure Adam will jump in at this point. Because when you are renting, you know what is expected of you. You pay your rent, you pay for utilities. It's certain. All right. Or it's more stable, it's more certain, you know what's going on. But if you own the home and some repair costs come in there, today your wall is cracking, tomorrow this, you would have to fix it. You can't call the landlord to come and fix it. Of course, if you are renting and a light bulb goes off, that's maybe up onto you. But I'm thinking about the more structural, more expensive maintenance costs. Think about painting. Yes, maybe when you move in first, you want to paint it. But if it's the regular painting, like the house is looking old and so you want to paint it, that probably won't be on you unless you are moving to a new place. That's going to be on the landlord. Plumbing works, like a water pump gets damaged. Chances are it's the landlord who should be responsible for these things. I have a friend who was staying in a space. It's furnished to some extent, AC and those kind of amenities. And when there were problems with the water pump, yeah, at this point it's really up to the landlord to fix it. If he doesn't like the AC, then he wants to take it on himself. That's okay. He wants to change that. That's on him. But it's not an absolute necessity. So the maintenance cost is really on the landlord rather than on you. Yeah. Adam, you've mentioned this issue about maintenance cost so many times. Do you want to quickly touch on it since I've said something related?
Yeah, with regards to the how will I call it, unexpected costs when you are owning a house, it's a lot. Like um like you already mentioned, you could even have a situation where there's a storm and then your roof is ripped off, and then Charlie, that's where you see how house ownership is not that easy. And even sometimes some of the most basic small repairs nowadays, you see that the artisans are becoming increasingly expensive. You can't just call somebody and think that you just pay some hundred CDs or something. No, you call a plumber, and it's it's quite some money that will go out of your pocket, and even the material costs and all that. At least even where we are staying, I mean, I remember in our childhood, there was a time there was this heavy rain, and then the next thing you realize the fence wall was down. That's an unexpected expense, and I've seen that happen, especially here in Accra, where you can have floods happening at odd times and everything. You can have all these unexpected expenses, and even just the general maintenance, keeping the building going. Some painting here, or a plug is fault, you need to repair it. Something, a doorknob broken. Sometimes you are there and before you realize maybe some tiles are coming off. You need to fix them. Something, all these little costs. Sometimes before you realize, then they are also adding up to the budget. Then you have the other costs which are not really like unforeseen, but they are also costs that people don't avert their minds to, like property rates. Every year you have to pay a property rate, and with especially those who are within the inner parts of Accra, the rates are going up more and more because the government is seeking to rake in a lot of revenues from property rates. Then also ground rent is also another one. Every year you have to pay ground rent. That is if you are especially yes, I think virtually everyone who has properties apart from the freehold people, which is just the main indigenous town. Your house is definitely, or your property is definitely a leasehold property, so you definitely have to pay ground rent to the owner of the land. So definitely that is also another cost you have to incur every year. So when you add up all these little things, they can come up to quite an amount of money. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think about this issue of ground rent. So the property tax goes to the government or the local government.
Yes.
But who does and then the ground rent goes to the original owners? This
Yes.
is this is news to me.
Original owners of the land. So, for example, I live in Teshningwa, and Teshningwa basically,
Mhm.
if you are in the estate, then you are on state housing property. So you pay ground rent to state housing every year. But there are people who pay to the school land. Those people who are not within the state housing enclave. I hope you get it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is this by law or it
Yeah,
comes in like the purchase agreement?
it's when you buy a land, you are in Ghana, you are not outright. It's not an outright purchase. It is a lease.
Mhm.
Okay, so the lease, from what I understand about the lease, is that the money you pay upfront is basically most percentage of the value. Then the rest is spread across the period of the lease, which means that every year you pay a certain amount of money to the owner of the land. Okay, which is like, yeah, it's like a rental. So by the time the period of the lease is over, then it's like the value has been amortized, sort of. Yeah, I don't know which word to use. That. Yeah. So every year you pay a certain amount of money to the owners of the land. Some places are much more aggressive in terms of collection. But some, like for example, even with state housing, a lot of people recently they came around and a lot of people didn't even know about this. And people are in arrears. Some are in arrears for 10 years. Some are in arrears for 5 years. But for us, we have been up to date on that. So yeah, people don't know that. So it happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This is giving me another TV license fee moment.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Charlie,
Uh,
where there are bills to be paid, but we don't know that we owe those bills.
exactly.
Wow.
There are some
This is
I think the last time,
sure. Go ahead.
the last time I realized that I think the Tertiary Traditional Council, that was the last time I think they went round and they posted a lot of notices on several people's properties because many people don't even have an idea. Their mind is that I've bought the land. But if you read any purchase agreement, you will see a clause in there concerning ground rent. It's always in there. Any, what we call the indenture, you will see it in there. At least I've glanced through almost a lot of them. You will definitely see because it's a lease. It's not an outright purchase. Yeah, so you would have to keep paying. So if you haven't paid ground rent before, then I don't know how they will definitely come after you.
Waboka. Waboka.
Yes, they will come after you one day and you see that you owe
my
a
money
lot.
is finished.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. This is news. We learn something new every day. This is news. Let me just quickly check. Mimi, did you know about this?
It's interesting the things you find out once you purchase a piece of land. I didn't know about the leasehold arrangement where you have a lease for, I think, a number of years. So I do know some family members had, like, a parent left a land to the kids, and the kids are like in their 60s, right? And it's not easily gone, but okay, let me say Kanda. So it's quite prime, right? And so the lease has expired. So they had to pay 170,000. And then I think something else. We have to pay something else as well. And so I do know about these things. And I think that when it comes to land ownership, property, building a house, the assumption is that once you build, that is it. You don't have like any expenses. And it's so not true. So I did tell you about my experience last year because we were all here when I said I wanted to diversify. So I bought a property somewhere. Now to even, it wasn't even 1 year into the thing, drama arose. Apart from that, registering the land alone, it was going to cost about 10,000. Then you need to secure the land, make it yours, and that alone will cost maybe another 50,000. You get it? So if you just save it up to buy this land without thinking about, all these additional costs, you are just going to be there and you are going to lose the land. And beyond these costs, you need to have somebody on the land, watching the land, making sure that, nobody is coming to encroach or take the land. So that's another whole issue. So for my whole encounter there, I concluded that I don't think I'm going to go through this again. If I'm going to do real estate, it will be in a very different way. Now, what do you call it? Building a house. So as you know, we finished ours. When was it? Elikem, when did I move?
What's the early last year?
I think 2022
Okay.
November. Okay. As if Elikem was handsome.
As if you invited me to this thing. What's it called?
Which I don't
Housewarming.
worry. Next
I
time
didn't
you
chew
come.
any chicken.
Oh, Charlie. Next time, next time. Since then, like the number of things that we've had to do today, the kitchen, something is broken here, some sink. In fact, last week somebody came to steal our meter. Can you imagine? Someone came to steal the meter. So some of
Which
the
water meter or electricity meter?
electricity meter.
Ah,
So our water pump got bent, and that's going to cost how much? 1,600 to fix it, or 3,000 to get a new one. I know the kitchen cabinets got spoiled. Some of them got spoiled. We had to fix like a whole lot of like little issues that we don't think about. So to me, having a house is not as cheap as we make it to look like. So now what I've done is to have like a maintenance fund to put in money every month so that that can take care of some of these things. And I don't even think that is enough. So it's not cheap like that. Just that, of course, if your sink is broken, your pump is well, someone has come to steal your, what do you call it, electricity meter. You still have a place to sleep. You can sleep in darkness. Like you can decide not to wash your plates again. Unlike rent, where I mean, if what do you call it, the money is finished, you are out. You get it. And then also, even with these payments to government is still a bit flexible even with the so with this particular Kanda property, they put in place a payment plan. I think it was like over a year or something, and eventually the family was able to pay off. So I think it's a bit more flexible when you are living in the space, but there are still a lot of costs involved that we do not think about. Yeah.
wow. So many costs, so many costs. And I feel like we just get excited about the emotional side and the pride side of owning a home that we don't want to have those serious conversations about the cost of owning a home. It's nice, it's great, but we need to be realistic. So that if we are budgeting for 100,000, know that 100,000 won't be enough. Like Mimi outside, I'm like, how much do you even buy the land that you need to be spending 10,000, 15,000, 50,000 just to secure it? My. This is
So I
interesting.
spent 75. So can you imagine?
Look at that. So 75, and you have to spend. You said there was one that you said another 50,000 for something. What was that 50,000 for?
Hello?
Yeah, maybe. What was the extra 50,000 for?
I think she said fence wall to secure the land.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. We were asking about the extra 50,000 you paid. Okay, we'll have to circle back to Mimi. But just look at that. 75,000, and you're having to cough up another, what, 80% of that cost just to get it to, and this is just land, just to get it to the right shape where you can ascertain ownership and all that. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, all right. So we'll move on. Papa Sam, are you there?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So we are going back to talking about scenarios or certain conditions under which rent is good. Do you have any other ideas that we've not mentioned so far?
Going in and out of the conversation, but what I'll just say is that coming from your, I think you made a statement about sentiment and good feel. For me, I'm yet to hear a compelling argument that is financial. That is not a good feel or a sentiment argument as to why I need to own my own home. I've not heard it. I don't know who can make that argument to me. So I'm here to in the hopes that someone will make that argument for me. I'm team rent till I die. At least till an argument is made.
Oh boy, this is good. I have one argument for you later at the end. So we'll get to that. That's interesting. Okay. All right, let's see. So for me, I have a few more points about why renting is good or the scenarios under which renting is good. Especially considering our audience, right? A younger audience. So let's see if you are older, 40s, 50s, let's see let us know if this also applies to you, right? I, as a young professional, I value being closer to my workplace. Like my life, a lot of um, a big aspect of my life is my career, right? So I would make certain decisions that would make it easy for me to succeed in my career. And one of them is where I live. If I choose to live somewhere that is closer to work. When I got out of college, I was doing national service. I was living in Abokobi for 1 year for my national service. And it's just commuting alone in and out was like 3 to 4 hours every day. That's just time that is gone. Time that I could be spending working, time that I could be learning, time that I could just even be resting to go back and work, right? Then I eventually moved to cantonments, right? I wasn't paying rent there; it was my father's apartment. But before I even went there, I was like, I'm gonna rent. I'm sick and tired of all this commuting. And at that time, I just bought my father had just bought me a car. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna rent somewhere in Adabraka. It's closer to Ridge, where my office was, and it's not so fancy. It's just location, 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 and Adabraka or Asylum down somewhere there. Just get some single room self-contained, right? Just so that I can get to and from the office on time. I had a colleague, she or is originally from Takrady. She did the same. She got a place in Asylum down, and she could walk to and from work. In fact, there were a few colleagues like that. They could walk to and from work, save on transportation. Yes, they are paying rent, but they don't have to live so far away. You save on the transportation, pay that money in rent, and have some peace of mind. Come to work well rested, enables you to actually perform, so that proximity to work. There were also certain benefits to me that my manager was like, look, he knows in the mornings, if he needs something done in the office very early, he knows I'll be there. Those are some things that really would matter to someone in their career, right? And it may be hard to put a number to this to say it's a financial benefit, but even on the financial side, like you can look at your transportation, the wear and tear to your car, the fuel, and all those things, and do a pros and cons measurement to see if you'll be better off just moving to somewhere closer to your workplace. All right. Then there's also flexibility and mobility. Because a lot of the best opportunities in Ghana are concentrated in the capital, not too many people think about, okay, well, let me about where they would live. But I've had some friends who were looking for job opportunities, and the job opportunities were in Kumasi. So what? Just up and leave and go to Kumasi or Takrady. If you have a house, if you built a house, you now ask yourself, do I really want to leave the house that I've built in Accra and go and live in in Kumasi and pay rent there? And chances are you may not want to rent the house that you've built. I know someone who bought a house with the purpose of renting it. Now it's done or no built, yeah, bought and furnished it, and it's like, you know what, this is looking too good. I don't want a stranger to come and to come and use my stuff. So now the house is just there, right? No longer going with the original plan. So mobility, flexibility, you don't have that. Even related to that flexibility and mobility, now it's not even just within Ghana. Now a lot of people are considering going abroad, and I take myself for example. In 2020, there's a mistake I didn't make. I actually got architectural drawings and stuff done, ready to just go start build. Then just put a pin in it. A few other life events happened, and I was like, you know what? Looking back, yes, I had my reasons why I was thinking of actually going to build, but I knew in some years I would leave the country, and then the place would just be empty. And the way that place is located, it wasn't a place I was going to rent. It's got a space on my mother's in my mother's backyard. Of course, she doesn't want just any outsider coming into the house. So it will be a very large boys' quarters that no one will be living in. So that just became a problem that I'm glad I didn't bring upon myself, because a lot of us, the young people, are thinking of going abroad. Imagine you spend so much money building a house, and then now it's time for now you have an opportunity to go abroad. You are less liquid because you sank a lot of money into that house, building it or buying it. And so, if money that you need to prepare to make a move, flight tickets, if it's school you are going to, your tuition, you need statements, all those things, that money is gone. All right, it's going to cement and blocks. All right. But if you had rather been doing rents, you could have saved that money to make a case for making the move abroad be easier for you. So flexibility, mobility, I really think it's something that a lot of people should think about when they are thinking um, about where they the option of renting or owning a home. Even if you are staying within Accra, you get a job that is, let's say, unfortunately in Kaswa. You go and rent in Kaswa. Okay, cool. You change your job. You go and get a new job that's in East Legon. Are you going to still be staying in Kaswa and driving all the way um to um to East Legon? No. Practically speaking, when your rent is up, or you try to even get out of your rent at Kaswa and move to a place closer to East Legon, so that you save on the wear and tear, your time, and all those other things. Again, flexibility. Even inside of Accra, renting gives you that kind of flexibility. So these are things that you should be thinking about. And just quickly about, also related to flexibilities, depending on the nature of your job, renting may be a better option. If your job suddenly becomes, it becomes a situation where you can't, you lose your job and you can't afford your rent again. Let's assume you are single, for example. You can easily just move back into live with your family or something. But if you've already bought a house and you've taken a mortgage, for example, then now you're in a tight spot. How are you going to pay for the house at the end of the month? And it's going to bring you some emotional toll, because you've gotten to a certain level, and now suddenly are you going to have to get the house foreclosed on? Of course, that's a pretty extreme situation, but it happens. Most of a lot of banks are selling houses that they give mortgages on, but people defaulted. So it's something to consider. Of course, if it's a house that you've paid outright for, like I'm thinking mini situation, like she said, even if you don't have the liquid cash, then okay, you just sit in your house in darkness. There's that option too. So again, it depends, but trying to paint a picture of flexibility, mobility, and then how renting can help you in unstable times. You are more flexible to move and seek opportunities. So yeah, those are some thoughts for when rent would be a good option for you. Let's see, Adam. How about you? Do you have any other points that you were thinking of that we've not brought up yet?
No, okay, so Alika, I think the main thing I had wanted to just add to was the flexibility, and then you ended up adding, now with the Japan wave, okay, I was telling someone that at this point in my life, I know a lot more of my friends who have moved out of the country than ever before. I have a lot of people who have moved, and I know people who children have gone outside the country and they had built big houses with the mind that, oh, my children will come and take it up. And these children don't look like anything returning to this country. So some of these things should start shifting the way we see property. Like, unlike those days where we put up a very big house and all of that, you have to start looking at how we are looking, the way we think about property and home ownership, because you might end up sinking in a lot of money. Meanwhile, we are becoming an increasingly mobile or flexible group of people. And now we are not geographically limited again. We would find that people will be moving around the globe more than before. So if you are taking some of these decisions, you would have to look more long term than just getting up and saying that I'm doing this. So I think your example, for example, makes a perfect sense, where you see now you found yourself in another country. As to whether you will return anytime soon, if anybody's guess, and all of the things that come with it. So if you are an increasingly mobile person, or someone who will be all over the place, and there are a number of jobs too now, we know people who are flying in, flying out, going to different countries to do some works all around the place, you might end up being somebody who doesn't want to lock himself up to one country, even one country, because you'll be moving from place to place. Because a lot of countries are opening up, looking for people. People might go in for a few years, leave and go to another country for another few years, and the dynamics are changing. So that is also a good point for people who are renting, and because you can just get up and leave without any emotional attachment to a building that is located somewhere in one part of the world.
That's a good point. Increased mobility. Can just get up and go all over the world to go and work in different places, and you don't have any emotional attachments to where you are. Just when you mentioned the people who build houses, hoping that their children will come and live in it, or will continue to put it up, just finish it for them or something. Meanwhile, the children have different plans for other in other places, and you're like, wow, that's just money that could have been spent somewhere else. And in fact, it's a good topic for another day. I guess it's like our parents' generation, they grew up in a time where that was sustainable. But for us, if I'm going to build a house, I don't need a 5 bedroom house, Now my mother has a 3 4 bedroom house, and it's just her in it. So it's some type of way. Anyway, at least when we go and visit at home, we have a place to stay. Okay. All right. Keeping it moving. Mimi, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
yes, I can hear you. So we'll
Yeah.
soon be moving to reasons or scenarios where renting would be bad. But do you have any more points for when rent is good before we make the switch?
Okay, I think I was going to say something, but I think I may be saying it too early. So, no, like Adam said, I think that for a lot of us, we need to sit down and think about our long-term plans. And if you are not too sure, then maybe you would want to put a pause, to it, or think about it more as an investment property. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So just two rapid fire points before we switch to the other side. Um, Depending, today we've learned about some laws and things that we should be doing that I'm sure a lot of people are not doing. Property taxes, ground rent. But if you're assuming you are renting the proper way or you are owning your home the proper way, rent may give you less financial risk. All right, less financial risk because if the house, for example, if the house burns down and it's of no um, it's not your fault. As a renter, you just walk away. Of course, I would encourage everyone to get renters insurance so that you don't have any issues with the landlord. But assuming you've gotten your renters insurance, chances are it's going to be less expensive than homeowners insurance. So that gives you less cost and also less risk. You have less to worry about. You've not sunk all your assets into one building, or you've not sunk a significant chunk of your money into one asset, such that if it's lost, you're so concerned. So with renting, you can just walk away easily. You'll just lose your safety deposit and just go. Yeah, so those are a few examples. I think people, we talk about the emotional side of things of owning a home. It's great. It would be nice. Life is not all about the numbers, right? And we have the emotional side that we also want to fulfill. Personal finance, we try to think it's all about the finance and the technical, but there's also the personal side, right? And some things about the personal are just it's just like that. We are emotional beings and we would have that part. So if you are renting and you are feeling bad, I would encourage you, don't feel too bad because renting can be just for a season while the time is right, while you save up for a down payment, while you save up to find the right real estate property. Don't just see an opportunity. Oh, I heard this land is available and you just rush and go and do it. No. Allow yourself rent and time it. The best time to move to owning a home is when it makes sense for you to do it, depending on your scenario. And of course, if you need someone to help you to figure out is this the right time for you, well, all you have to do is go to talk to your investment friends. Who are they? get on Instagram, follow at investment_friend. Over there, you would have Serum and Mimi. They would have a lot of contents. They have communities that are built. They can talk to you one-on-one to determine what your unique financial situation is so that you can get more tailor-made information. Over here at Money Convos, we speak generally, we just give general information, and you see, we are saying a lot of it depends, right? But there, you could get more certainty about your unique situation. Great. So now, let's switch to the other side. Under what circumstances will renting be bad? Adam, do you want to get us started? Oh, Adam, if you are speaking, you're muted. Or I can just get us started.
I can
Oh,
start.
okay, Mimi, go ahead.
Yeah, I think renting can be quite a bad decision when your rent is too high. So there are people who are paying so much for renting a place. If they had put together that money to buy a property, even in the short term, it will make more sense. I think then buying a home makes more sense, you know. And then there are cases where maybe you know yourself, you know that you don't plan on traveling, you are not about going to Ubi Manso or going to stay in snow and all that. I think building early is key. Why am I saying this? So, when I was working with the retirement in the retirement space, one of the major challenges were people retiring and using their money for projects in quotes, which were mostly these building projects. And these things normally swallow money. What I'm trying to say is a building, you can put your money into a building, but if it's not completed, I won't say it won't bring you value because you can sell it, but it's sort of illiquid. Meanwhile, at retirement, that's when you need the liquidity. So if you know that you would retire in this country and you do that when you are younger, when you are older, you won't be tempted to be using your money for those capital expenses. So for me, that's what I learned from observing some retirees. Clear it as soon as you can. So those are the two reasons why I would say that you should buy. Of course, there's also if you have a house and you need money, you can also do like an equity release, as well. And then buying a home also adds or increases your net worth. It also increases your net worth. Even if you use a loan to buy a home, as the loan reduces, hopefully the value of the property will still be increasing. So you are able to increase your net worth, but you don't want to be a house. What do you say? Cash poor. There's this term around it, like having a property but you don't have
House rich
house rich and
and cash poor.
cash poor. Yes, you don't want to be like in that situation, right? And so you want to be careful, but yeah. So for me, I think in those instances, and then also if you are looking at what do you call it, leaving something for your children, you don't know whether your children will want to be in this country. So you can build, but you can build with the mindset that the property you have, even when you are gone, can be rented and give value, to your children wherever they are. So it's not such a bad thing, but it's something that you really need to think about.
Those are some very good points, Mimi. Very good points that make a case for people to think about owning their home sooner than later. And I like the caveats. When you know you have some certainty, when you know that you are meant to be here. I I have friends, some friends who are abroad, and they are like, you know what, they want to go back home, and there are good reasons behind it. Of course, I'm still right now, as I'm saying it, everyone is thinking about them, looking at them crazy, like, what's wrong with you? But to each their own, like you said, if you know yourself. Okay, great. All right. So a few points I could mention behind when renting is bad, or more like a case for owning your own home that you live in, is peace of mind. Mimi said something about owning the home in people who do projects in their retirement, and I think that that's where a major part of the peace of mind comes to play. If all things being equal, you may not even have to worry about peace of mind. Like, I rent out here and I have my peace of mind. But back in Ghana, some landlords and landladies can be quite annoying. There may be so many rules and restrictions. You can't do this, you can't do that. And some of them are pretty absurd. I'm not talking about the reasonable ones. Some are pretty absurd and they want your peace of mind. Just having a landlord takes away from that peace of mind. So you need to ask yourself, is that lack of peace of mind distracting you from other aspects of your life, your career, your family life, your social life, your mental health, in fact, your health? If that's a concern, then getting your own place, that you are on your own. The same people like to be their own boss. You are your own landlord. You don't have to worry about too many things. If you need to make any changes, you can always consult your landlord. Just look in the mirror and you see your landlord, and you and your landlord can always agree on things. Yeah. Then retirement, like, it brings you stability. So generally, renting is bad if you need stability, if you absolutely need stability. A key example is when you're in retirement, or when you have health challenges and you need some stability in where you will live, rather than have to worry, okay, next year they are going to increase rent, so I have to move here, move there. Maybe you may have to make modifications to the place that you live in. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you live with an older family member that has some of these health concerns. Stability is key, so you want to make sure that you have a place for yourself that you don't have to think about moving around. So that's a point for owning your own home or not renting. Now, let me address something. What Papa Sam is looking out for in this conversation. For me, a financial case can be made for not renting. I built a model some time back about rent to rent versus to own a home. And like with all models, it's all about ceteris paribus, all things remaining equal, right? And renting in a stable economy, where everything is okay, beats owning the home all day, every day. However, again, things like, when you retire, would you have stability of where you stay? Comes up. Also, for many people, I wish we could say we have discipline and we say that we are going to save. For example, I'll use it's the simplest way I can think of comparing the cost of renting versus the cost of owning a home is taking a mortgage. With the mortgage, you can take the mortgage, the house is already built, then within a month or two, you are moving into the house, same as if you are renting, right? Your mortgage is likely going to be more expensive than the rent you would be paying if you were to own the place, if you were to just to be renting. But part of it, like Mimi was saying earlier, part of that monthly payment you make every month goes into paying off the principal on the loan. Now, as you pay off the principal of the loan, that money is like a savings account, in air quotes. I'm just calling it a savings account. For example, let's say your house is worth 500,000 cedis. You took a loan of 450 or 400,000, and you brought your own 100,000. Every month, as you are paying, part of the money you pay is for interest on the 400,000, but another part is to pay down, reduce the principal, the 400,000. So that in month two, your beginning balance of how much you owe the bank is not 400,000 again, it's now 399,000 something. You see, so that by the time you get to the end of your mortgage, assuming it's 15 years, at your last payments, you finish paying them off their principal, you don't owe them any more interest, everything is done. We call this amortizing, right? So you smoothen it out. Now you ask yourself, so as you are paying off the principal, who is that money going to? Yes, it's going to the bank, but it's coming to you in some value, because the house, assuming the value remains 500,000, every year as you've made payments and you've reduced how much you owe the bank, now you owe more
Now you own more of your house than the bank does. You see, so that gives you a way that will force you to save the money. In a model, you can simply say that, oh well, that difference, assuming my rent will be 1,000 cedis and my mortgage would be 2,500. That 1,500, I'll save it. Charlie guy, let's be honest. Not so many of us have that kind of discipline to do that and follow it. So that's where the model breaks down. It's where the model breaks down when you add the personal, when you add the psychology, when you add the fact that okay, what if there are some risk events? What if suddenly what happened in Ghana happened? The rent rates just shoot through the roof. Meanwhile, your mortgage is fixed. It's not a floating rate. It's fixed. So assuming you took a CD mortgage, you know how much you are paying every month, 2,500 CDs a month. If you are paying if it's a dollar mortgage, that's a story for another day. But with a CD mortgage, if you know it's 2,500 you are paying for the 15 years, that's what you are paying. Your rent, you started off with 1,000 cedis, but then Ghana in 2022 and 2023 happened, and now your what's it called? Your landlord has doubled the rent. It's gone to 2,000. So that 1,500 you thought you could save, it now shrinks to just 500. And what are you going to do in that kind of situation? There's not much you can do. So your model fails. So there's always risk to those financial models when we do them. And so it's good that people understand the risks involved in either side and know what they are comfortable with. But in summary, the point is when you own your home, you are forcing yourself to buy an asset, to build an asset that you won't take out of. Even if you are saving, if you can commit to saving that extra 1,500 a month, you won't go and you something happens, you can go and withdraw it. Val's Day has come, Charlie, I didn't really save. Then you go and remove small. You go and remove small for this, go and remove small for that. But in the house, are you going to remove one window frame and say, okay, I'm going to sell this window frame or your pump? You're going to take out your pump and go and sell it to go and buy someone gift for Val's Day. Chances are you aren't. So for savings, I think that's a very good point for home ownership. Yeah, Papa Sam, any thoughts on this?
I mean, first, I will challenge a part of your model. 8 out of 10 mortgages will be floating will be floating rates because mortgages are very long-term loans, probably 10, 15, 20 years. When the economy changes significantly, if at a certain point the rates were 10% or 15%, the economy has changed significantly and now it's at 30%. No bank will still be charging you 10%. The same way rent prices skyrocketed in 2022 and 2023. If you ask anybody who had a mortgage had a mortgage, loan rates, the rates were their monthly payments were revised. So usually more, yes, maybe you may find one or two companies that say fixed, but from my understanding of mortgage, because of how long term the payments are, that range between 10 to 20 years, there's always a floating rate component in there, especially in this part of the world where rates change very significantly. So in the same way, if you see rent prices skyrocketing because of economic challenges, best believe that it is.
Okay, since we are losing Papa Sam, yeah, we've lost
in some way. So that's.
Hello, Papa Sam, can you hear me? Okay, I think we lost Papa Sam for a moment. But I just to push back on this issue of 8 out of 10 mortgages would be floating. Yeah, if you sign an agreement for a floating rate mortgage, yeah, then that's a concern. But if you sign an agreement for a fixed rate mortgage, it is a fixed rate mortgage. So if you want to solve for that risk, you get a fixed rate mortgage. What does that mean? It may mean your upfront mortgage rate, instead of when people will be doing normally something that starts off at 22% floating, yours may start off at 25%. But that's just so that it will give them the buffer. But a fixed rate mortgage is a fixed rate mortgage. If you want to confirm from the mortgage bank, confirm from the mortgage bank that it's fixed or not. Are there any triggers that will make them convert it to floating or not? You can check for those, but really, fixed is fixed. floating is floating. And I think these are two different things. A lot of times, a lot of people would got dollar denominated mortgages, and in fact, in my models, I would encourage people get a dollar denominated one, but let them know that this is the risk. If the CD depreciates to a certain point, then it throws your thing out of whack. Or follow it for like 5 years. When the CD has depreciated too much, then you convert it to a CD mortgage, that kind of thing. All those things will be factored into the model. But fixed is fixed, floating is floating. I think Papa Sam, we just got Papa Sam back. Papa Sam, can you hear me? I want to confirm something. I want to confirm something you said. To make sure we are on the same page, are you saying that if a bank signs a loan agreement with you, a mortgage agreement with you, that it is fixed, they can still change it from fixed to floating?
So no, but from practice, for loans that are long term, there's always a something in the fine print that allows the. So as you said, I think I got the end of your conversation. As you said, before you take the loan, you have to like check again at that. But what I suspect is that if you are taking a loan, hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Some breaks, but we can hear you. Okay. Can anyone drop a reaction if you can hear me? We may have to circle back to Papa Sam in a moment. Okay. Let's see. All right. Let me take a few more reasons why renting would be bad when the scenarios under which your rent would not be good. If you are concerned about, okay, thank you, Prince. I see that, and Adam, see the reactions. Okay. So if you are concerned about restrictions, like some people, they want to pound fufu. If you go and rent somewhere in some apartment on the 5th floor in Northridge or Cantonment, why are you going to pound your fufu? You understand? You're going to do like me right now that I'm coming to do my fufu in microwave. You understand? So if that's a concern for you, and then that's something you need to know, that renting may not be a good option for you. You get your own house, you have a ground floor, you have your backyard, you can go and pound your fufu peacefully. Of course, this may seem trivial, but it's about customization. Can you get a home that's customized to your specs? If you are going to build it, you can customize it as much as you want. If you are going to buy it, you really can't customize it much. But if you're going to rent it, and you want, if you buy something, if you buy a house and you want to change certain things, you are free to do so, as long as it doesn't affect the building code and they'll say permit. But who follows that stuff in Ghana anyway? But if you rent, you can't structurally make changes to your landlord's house. No, you can't do that. So there are those restrictions. So if that's something you want to do, you need to be concerned about it. And also, so really, the main concern is about restrictions. You can have, if you don't want to have to deal with neighbors. Usually when people are buying houses, apart from the high-end luxury places, it wouldn't be an apartment. It would be a house standing on its own. So you don't have to deal with neighbors who are so close, and their activities would affect you. Maybe somebody makes too much noise in the night, or you have somebody like me as a neighbor, and Friday nights, so it's like party. That one too is a problem. So go get your own house, have your peace of mind. If you can afford it, that's something that a situation under which rent would not be a good situation for you. So we've spent a lot of time discussing this. I want to start wrapping this up. If anyone, Mimi, Adam, are you there? I know Mimi has dropped to the audience. Feel free to come back up if you would like, as we conclude this and wrap it up. Adam, are you there? Okay, I'll circle back to Eden. But so all in all, we've considered certain situations. Is renting good or bad? The simple answer is it depends. It depends. Sometimes you are faced with a situation where that's all you can do. I love Eden's example of your family is back home in the north. You came down here for school, you've stayed for a job. Can you build a house immediately at entry level? No. Can you buy a house? No. Do you have family here? No. What's your next best option? Rent. Really, that's it. Also, we are moving towards an economy where you need some flexibility. You need some flexibility to take advantage of opportunities in your career, whether it's within Accra, it's within Ghana, or even internationally. Renting gives you that flexibility to go in and out of that home that you currently have for the term of your lease, whether it's a year or two, or you can even break it and leave. Or even if you have to pay that extra 2-3 months rent, you can do that, But if you own the home, it kind of restricts you to where you can operate, or you just have an asset. Even if you take that opportunity, you just have an asset that becomes a cost because you have to incur an extra cost to live somewhere else, So you don't want to have to deal with those burdens. Renting gives you that flexibility. We also talked about the lower costs. A major thing that people don't think about when owning a home is the maintenance cost or even acquisition costs. Acquisition of land, acquisition of the house, the ground rent, property tax, maintenance. You would have all that responsibility if you are the homeowner. But as a renter, some of that responsibility goes to the landlord, and you don't have to worry so much about it. So it's something that you want to consider as you are making your decision. Again, it all depends. And for me, a summary would be know your situation, know what will work for you. Talk to investment friend if you need more perspective on your particular situation. But in as much as we have an emotional draw to owning a home, owning one of our basic needs, shelter, sometimes renting is a good start. Renting is not bad. If you are renting, don't feel like a failure. Your mates are all owning their homes, but you are renting. It's not a failure. It's for a season. There will come a time when you can also afford to get your home. Plan towards it. Know your situation and know how to plan towards it, but it's not a bad thing. It will give you an opportunity as you rent to know what it entails to own a home. As you see things breaking apart and all that, and you'll be a good steward for another person's place. Chances are you also be a good steward of your own place. And just to borrow, I was going to borrow something from what Mimi said, but I think I'll leave it for maybe her closing remarks. So yeah, Mimi, do you have any closing thoughts on this before we
Yeah,
wrap it up?
I think that you said something that's important, that it depends. And so you see, sometimes we've made things like rules, like if you don't have a house, you've not arrived. I think it's wrong because, like you said, you go and pump all your money into this place when your plans, if you really sat down and think about it, your plans will be to move away with your family, and you are not sure yet of how you manage the space. When some people say you would rent, trust me, depending on the area you are renting the property, it may or may not be worth it, because if you don't get a correct tenant, they'll just mess up the house and you wouldn't even get the rent, won't even be enough to cover that. So I think that it depends on your situation, and I think building a house is a long-term thing. So before you go ahead and buy cement or whatever, you need to ask yourself the hard questions. What are your long-term plans? And based on your long-term plans, then if you still want to build a house, is it as an investment or it's for you and your family to live in? If you are not sure about what you want to do in the long term, then I'll say I'll go with a more flexible approach, so that even if you're leaving the country, it's at a location you can easily sell or rent for a good amount of money. And because building is very expensive, you don't want to tie all your money into something that really you don't need. So that is what I would say. And renting can also be very expensive. In fact, I've heard some of the prices, and it's crazy. I would say that think about your long-term plans, and also be careful where you you rent. Do your math and see what makes sense. And some people are living at far places and paying so much for transportation. So do the math and see what makes sense, and then take a decision. The thing about housing, like you said, is it makes you feel good, like that you're a house owner. But I think that it should go beyond the good feeling. It's something that you should put in, so that if your plan is to go to Canada in the next 2 years, why don't you focus energy more on building your finances to make that possible, rather than putting your money somewhere and then not being able to pursue that goal well. So that's what I'll say.
Thank you, maybe good points. If you know your plans are elsewhere, why not build up towards those goals? All right, let's see. Prince, nice to have you up here. Any particular thoughts on this before we close the chapter?
All right, Ellie, can you hear me?
Yes, boss.
All right, thank you very much. I think I joined later. The initial stages I wasn't available, but I think much has been said as to whether renting is good or bad. Just to add up, I feel it can be good, it can be bad, depending on how you look at it. And for me, my focus is more on. I think the people who follow us more are the youth. I might be wrong, but to me, looking at the profile pictures that I see more of the people that follow us are youth, and I think that now there's been something going on in the country that people, you meet a lot of people who want to live away from their parents, go and rent. When you talk about to them, they want privacy, they want privacy. And one thing we should all get to understand is the initial stages of your life. You are barely not even earning much to that. If somebody is supposed to offer you a place that you can stay, you can be there actually working and making your way towards life. I think it's something that we should appreciate. It's not about you getting your privacy, knowing that you can get a place to stay for free, but then you want to go and rent when you are not earning that much. You get it? Yeah. So for me, I think you should look at some of these things, some of the goals that you set for yourself. You have to endure certain things to get towards to those goals, and those are the things that you need to master mental toughness and go through. It gets to a point that everything in life comes to you at the right time. A time will come that you definitely will take that decision that, oh, I need to build, and you make plans to it. So the initial stages that you feel work, you are not earning much. The little that comes in, looking at cost of living, more is even going to transportation and food. If you have a place that you can stay and organize yourself well, so you get to a stage where you think that, oh, now I am okay to be on my own. I think we should also consider that, because it's too much. People are moving out to rent. They are financially stressed. The same people come back at you trying. You asking you to borrow them and all that. And I think you shouldn't put yourself in that situation to be like you are forcing yourself to live the life. The life is so simple, and you can live it in the simplest form that you can. So please, let's look at that. And I think December, when you came, we were talking about rent itself and building itself, and you got to realize that even building alone, it comes with a whole lot of cost after building it, maintenance, and a whole sort of things that all comes back to monetary impacts on us. So let's take it easy. Let's live the life in the simplest way that they can give us peace of mind in everything that we do. That will be my closing remarks.
Thank you, Prince. Let's keep it simple. Let's live life simply. Let's do what we can afford, and let's not rush and try to follow the crowd. So yeah, those are good points. When you said they want privacy, I'm like, hey, at this point, you're a young person. You're making decision because of privacy. Hey.
Ellie, I'm
Mm-hmm.
currently facing a situation where a lady, you have just completed service, you are staying with your sister, you
Mm-hmm.
just got a job that they are paying you 1,500. You are telling me that you call me that you want to have privacy, so you want to go and rent. I thought she was kidding. I asked her,
Mm-hmm.
is your sister worrying you? He said no. What is the
Mm-hmm.
issue? She just wants privacy. I say, but you are not giving me any valid reason that you want to rent. He said, oh, he wants
Privacy.
to rent and all that. I said, okay, that's fine. I was there one day, then I had a call from her requesting me that he has gotten the room and he has to go and top up 5,000 Ghana cedi. I said,
Hey.
what?
top up. 5,000 is top up.
I'm saying what? Like
Hmm.
why? Why do you have to put yourself through that hassle? Why? So I initially told her that for me, I mean, I can't support her because I literally, I mean, your sister is not chasing you out of the house. I don't know why you want to be on your own. For what? Like what I told you want to do that you want to be on your own. So I just left that conversation for her. And I mean, I could see her posting some pictures of her getting the place and all that, but it's something that really doesn't interest me, cry. So, and it's really happening. So we just have to be watchful and do that.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Help
Hmm. Oh, the youth is such an amazing experience, eh? When we are young and we believe we know it all, so we're gonna do it. All right. Oh well. I wish everyone all the best, and I hope even if we make mistakes, because mistakes are part of life, we make mistakes that we can recover from. I hope that will be the situation. Okay, guys. Thank you all so much for spending this time with us on a vast day. I know we've kept you away from your dinners. I have some fufu waiting for me that I'll be eating solo. So I wish you all the best. I hope you enjoy the rest of the week. And if you are looking for any Val's Day content, remember last week I had a conversation about splurging and generally giving. And so go listen to that conversation. Look Money Convos up on YouTube, look us up on wherever you listen to podcasts so that I can play back that conversation. And while you're at it, follow us here on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and while you're on Instagram, follow at investment_friend. Thank you so much for the time, and we'll talk to you same time next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our thoughts. I hope you learned a thing or two and start practicing. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook. And subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. Do tell a friend about Money Convos so we all become wealthy together. Talk to you soon. Bye.